Hey everybody, Comic Crack. Um, just wanted to, I don't know, just felt like talking about some books, so here we are, and here we go. Um, just kind of about all the indie stuff that I picked up this past week, the stuff that came in the mail. A33 by a guy named Josh Burgraff. Um, this one, this was Birdcage Bottom Books. Put this one out. I really like this guy's stuff. It's all silent um, and really colorful and a little bit abstract. So instead of it being like a kind of narrative throughout, I mean, there's definitely some threads through it, and it's a lot of like sci-fi-ish type of stuff. It's almost like just kind of little, I don't know, just kind of little tidbits from his subconscious that he just kind of puts down on paper with odd alien-looking creatures through kind of very strange landscapes. And I guess you can kind of decipher some sort of narrative through some of it, whether it's like a really basic kind of thing, you know, man and monster, kind of like a Wile E. Coyote and the sheepdog kind of thing. But more often than not, they're just little gags, I guess, you know. It was a really, really cool read. I mean, you know, as much as you just kind of fly through it, but the pictures are just great to look at. Some of his lines are really great, and some of the bizarre shapes, and he really identifiable character head there, which is also on the front cover there too. Pretty cool little book though. Again, with a lot of these stuff, especially the Birdcage Bottom books and the Koyama Press stuff, the paper stock they're printed on is really, really nice. Heavy duty, not too glossy, but it's definitely something that's going to last. So that's A33 by Josh Burgraff. I don't know if anybody does like the Tumblr thing, but I'm pretty sure that he's got a Tumblr page that you can follow. A lot of these guys do. I know Birdcage Bottom Books does, and Drippy Bone, and a lot of these kind of small press publishers. It's kind of a good way to keep an eye out for things that they're going to be releasing. So Burgraff, and his first name is Josh. So that was a pretty good book. I just finished reading this last night. The Black Sheep from Mad Bomber 37 Press by a guy named Diego Tripodi. First thing I'll say is that he's also got one more book, Melee, a collection of short comics from 2006 to 2012 as well. And I don't know, I kind of like his style. As dirty as it is, kind of lends itself to the book, I thought, really nicely. So this one is about a family that lives on a farm, husband and wife and their child, and they don't go into town, and there's a big kind of mention of how they don't go into the town, and you find out that the boy has now gone into the village to see, and thinks his dad is just a coward, basically, why he doesn't want to go into the city. But it's actually because of his past, where he was this kind of he was in this martial arts training school, and he just parted ways from them, and they kind of, his master was really displeased with him because he didn't go this extra step in the final kind of battle to become the master of the school, which was killing his opponent. So the master said, as punishment, he's banished, and when his son, because at the time he met this woman and she got pregnant, he said when his son comes of age, they're going to come to his house and steal his child away and put him in the school and train his child to do what he was kind of born to do. So he escaped, and he remained hidden for all these years until finally some people spotted the child and followed him back to the farm. So it's a neat way of telling a story. Obviously, you know, nothing like groundbreaking, but because you get some flashbacks and then you're into the current time, and you also get a look at one of the other characters' paths through kind of this just little kind of sideline. The thing that was odd about it was the year. I think at one point they said it was like 1913, and that kind of comes out of nowhere, because at first I just automatically place samurais in a certain time period. So to see a mixture, when you do see a mixture, you're seeing a mixture of like limousines and stuff as they kind of go a little bit into the future. I don't know exactly, because the 1913 stuff is when he was younger, before his son was born. So I'm assuming it's like early 1920s when the kind of current timeline is taking place, but they don't specifically say that. But I thought it was pretty good. It was one of those things that it was a self-contained story, but on the last page they have an epilogue with a mysterious figure being told that they found him. So that kind of hints that maybe there's another one on the way, which would be kind of cool. I'd definitely be down with reading some more. Some of the dialogue was a little cumbersome, a little kind of, it just didn't flow as nicely, I thought, and I think that's partially due to the mixture of this old and the new. And in the back he says that he took, let me just see where it says it. Dialogue from pages 12 and 13 taken from A Fistful of Dollars. So there's some dialogue and some influences taken from other sources. And also, originally, he's from Buenos Aires, so it's been translated into English, so somebody's helped with the translation. So maybe that's why it also seems a bit cumbersome. Because anytime you're translating stuff, I don't know, it always just has a different flow to it that doesn't, sometimes you can't translate that kind of poetry or that flow or the cadence and stuff. You can't really translate it because the words, more or less words, are used to make the same statement, so it kind of ruins it a little bit. But overall it was pretty good, actually. I didn't mind it at all. So that's The Black Sheep. Just talk quickly about these here. Future Shock 4 and 5. I think 5 is the latest one. I believe, I think somebody had mentioned in the video where I showed these that they had, I think it might have been this Earl Grey, maybe, that numbers 1 and 2, I think, were maybe reprints or second editions or something. So they had different covered artwork. Again, this is along the lines of the Josh Burgraff stuff, that there's definitely some stories, like this Mama's Boy one, that has kind of a thread running through, like an actual storyline. This whole issue seems to be about, each story has to do with kind of like transformation, people's appearances changing, people growing and that sort of thing. But it's a very, very loose theme. There's some great stuff in it, but again, a lot of this stuff, it's more about the art and the style that comes along with it, as opposed to like really, really strong storytelling. Not to say that it's horrible storytelling, because again, there's some stories in here that I think are really great. There's another Josh Burgraff in there as well. But some of them, it's the art that definitely overshadows it, like this one, for example. And he's the same guy that did the cover, and his name is escaping me. Jordan Spear. I found a website for him. His artwork is unbelievable. I believe it's all computer generated, but I don't know if you can tell on the monitor. It really looks like it's models built or clay figures that are built and these little scenarios set up and photographs taken. But every once in a while you'll get a look at something that really looks like it's computer generated, but it's really hard to tell. And there wasn't the little bit of searching that I did. I didn't see anything specifically as far as technique, but because the main thing I was hoping for is to find more books by him to see if there was like a full book that he had done, because I'd love to see more of his stuff, Jordan Spear. So that's Future Shock. I still enjoyed it. Like, I still thought it is pretty great. Definitely want to try to pick up the first 3. And then number 5 was just more of the same. Let's see if I can... Yeah, so I mean, and you know, sometimes that's the thing with running through like underground or indie or small press stuff. You get a lot of the same themes, like, you know, Hot Water Heater Kid by Victor Curlow. He drops some acid and, you know, starts to boil and melt and all this kind of thing. So it's kind of like that kind of stuff just doesn't really do it for me as much, because it's things that I've seen so much before and kind of done more inventively in like the original underground kind of press and stuff. And here's another William Cardini. That kind of thing doesn't impress me as much and kind of turns me off a little bit. But again, that's the beauty of anthologies, because you might not be into it, and in a page or two it's gone and you're on to the next story, which is very cool. So this one definitely has a little bit more of a sci-fi feel to it. And even at the back of... maybe it's at the back of this one. Future Shock is an Astro Psych-Out sci-fi plus comics anthology. The starting point is a combination of 70s heavy metal and Zap comics, and we go from there. So that kind of spells out their kind of mission statement in plain English. Influenced by heavy metal, influenced by Zap comics, and that's where we go. So again, not horrible. I preferred, I think number 4 was a bit better, but yeah, still cool to have. So that's that. And the last one I wanted to talk about was this one from Koyama Press by this Shall You Know Him. I think out of all of the books that I got, all of them were incredible, but I think this one just really amazed me the most. I thought it was, again, it's not necessarily about an original tale, it's more about an original way of presenting an idea or original way of telling a story. And I thought this one did it spectacularly. The art is just beautiful. The way they transition through characters and environments, I think, was great. So what you have basically is these big creatures that are these alien beings that are having a competition, and this is kind of their teacher. They're having a competition of creating a world. So they create Earth. A couple of the characters create animals, and the guy that's kind of like the bad guy, I guess, in it, he creates humans. He basically goes around killing the animals, and then he creates these humans, one of which loves to kill little animals and tear them apart and eat them and stuff like that, and the other one is really timid and saying, no, we shouldn't be doing that sort of thing. But the interesting thing about it is you start with the humans so that's your introduction to the book, and then you get to see the aliens going about their business, and after a little bit you kind of get a sense of exactly what's going on and who's who and what their motivations are. And then it's blended in with kind of these little bit of psychedelic imagery of actual creation and drawings like this. There's lots of like kind of Cubert type cubes making up patterns and things. And I mean, that was the other thing that blew me away about it. The artwork is really, really beautiful. And the amount of work, even in these aliens, they have this kind of pattern to them as well as being outlined. So the amount of work every time you're drawing these creatures is very impressive too. Color choices are great. You get some cavemen as well. The female, who's a lot more intelligent than the male, is kind of helping him find his way through the world as he's about to eat his own shit, and she stops him and introduces him to like fruit. eating strawberries and foraging for berries and stuff. Yeah, I thought it was great. And then every once in a while you'll get a page with a bunch of different panels like this one here that does really great at creating kind of motion. I mean, that bird just going through the panels, you really, that bird is flying, you know, and I really, really like that sort of thing. So breaking up more kind of big spreads with really well done movement. Let's see if I can find, yeah, I mean, even stuff like this here. So you get everything sprouting out, and you just get a nice sense of, oh boy, this is really difficult. You just get a nice sense of things moving and growing and living and interacting with their environments. So I was very, very impressed with this one. I really, really liked this one. Jesse Jacobs is the guy that did this, and that's another name that I'm going to have to search for to see what else he did. Definitely one of the highlights as far as everything that I got, and nice thick volume, as I said before in the video. If you do Koyama Press, I'd highly recommend this one. So that's the look at those. I mean, some of the other ones were just short ones. I'll maybe do some reviews of them later. I kind of talked about some of them as I was doing the video unboxing and things, but those are ones I just kind of wanted to highlight. I also have been trading in, unpacking boxes here at the house and setting up shelves and things. I had a stack of books that I traded in at the Red River Bookshop here in town. So I got about $125 worth of trade at his shop, and picked up a lot of things. I just kind of wanted to highlight a couple of them. I got the first 3 issues of this old Vertigo series called The Minx by Peter Milligan and Sean Phillips from Criminal Fatale. And the first 3 issues that I found were amazing. It's only an 8-issue miniseries, so I managed to find the rest of them, which is great, because I thought the first 3 were hilarious. First of all, a monkey is sent out into space to explore deep space. He starts coming back to space, back to Earth rather, but he's got this new consciousness, and he's communicating with some humans down on Earth, and he's not able to communicate with, or not everybody is able to receive these transmissions from him. So the select few that are considered these kind of I don't know, special humans, being able to communicate with this now monkey god that's going to return to Earth. Just really interesting, first of all, for a sci-fi book, but also, like I said, just really funny. The way to present some of the characters, the way they present like the president and his kind of damaged self is great. There's just some moments in here that are really, really enjoyable to read. So here's a look at the other covers. So, and it's also cool to see some early Sean Phillips art, which is great. Yeah, and along the bottom of this one, it has all the previous covers. So that's that. So I was really glad to get that. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of that thing. A couple of books called Buried Treasure, which are kind of from Caliber Comics, and they're reprints of older books. I haven't looked through a lot of these yet. I just picked them up based on just the covers, and like I said, I had so much money to trade in that it got to a point where I was just really grabbing a few things just to kind of try them out, you know, once I'd found the specific issues that I was on the hunt for. Me and my son had started reading Iron Fist, the Immortal Iron Fist, so I found a few more of these issues Um, we're digging it. We haven't read it for a long time. His stockpile of comics to read is huge because he's only over a couple of nights, sometimes just once a week. So we don't get too much of an opportunity to read comics together. So we're pretty far behind, but if I stock up on those, then that'll be great. I'd heard really good things about this Machine Man 4-issue miniseries. Unfortunately, I was only able to find number 1 and 4, but I just heard really good things about it, and I absolutely love the covers too. So I'm really excited for that. I got to hunt down 2 and 3. Trying out some newer Deadman as well. I've been a big fan of like Deadman and Spectre for a long time. So this is the first 4 in this one, and I think that's Mike Mignola covers there on that one, and this one, which also drew me to it. So yeah, we'll try out those 4. And another one that I'd heard, I think it was from Scott Costin Bromstar, the Alien Legion. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the Epic Comics line is something that I'm finding quite a bit of enjoyment out of. So I'm looking forward to that. Frank Brunner. This is an Eclipse, The Unknown Worlds of Frank Brunner, part 1 of 2. Picked that one up. That one will appeal to guys like Tony, why not Art? A couple more of the Cheval Noir, just some of the later ones that I don't have. I think after this last one, which is number 23, I think starting at number 24, it goes to kind of a regular comic book size, which I'm not as excited about, because these are kind of thicker volumes, so you get more stories in them, which is great. Another great series, if you ever see those for cheap, highly recommended. Speaking of Epic, Epic reprinted these, the Inkal by Jodorowsky and Mobius. So I got the first 2. I'm having problems finding the Epic Comics ones, but these are the Humanoid Publishing Comics versions of it. And I know every time I see the Humanoid stuff in hardback, they're really, really expensive. So these 2 issues, he had them priced at $4 each. So yeah, basically trading. Why not give them a shot? Can't go wrong with some Mobius, although looking through that, it's not kind of the classic Mobius. It's still good, but there's also another name attached to it as well, Jan Jetov. So I'll have to look to see who did what. Like maybe Mobius didn't ink it, or maybe Mobius was the inker, or I don't know exactly how it worked in that one. And then I can't go wrong with some Fantagraphics. So this is 2 issues of something called Idiot Land by Doug Allen and Gary Lieb. So there's, I think it's number 1 and 2. I don't know which is which, but there you go. So a good stack, and then I found a couple of books for my son for Christmas that are going to be kind of stocking stuffer type of comics as well. So that's that. That's kind of the latest in my comics. I hope that everybody's doing well. It was a lot of fun being on the comic book roundtable last night. I had a really good time. Now that we got internet set up and things, I'm hoping that can maybe do some more hangouts with people. Maybe Spiro and I can do another kind of underground chat at some point. Because I think he ordered a bunch of like the small press stuff, so maybe we can do a conversation about small press books or kind of look at that or whatever. And it was just kind of brought up last night. You know, Travis had said at one point, like, there's not many people talking about these kind of books, so I kind of want to, I mean, I always kind of do anyway. I love the superhero stuff too, that's the thing, and that's something that also came up in the, somebody had posted that while we were doing the show. Always going back to superheroes, and it's the exact same thing with me. As much as I love the small press and underground and indie type of stuff, I still go back to the superhero stuff. I said it last night, and I'll say it again. Jaden and I are loving the Infinity, you know, cross-universe kind of event. I mean, we're reading the Avengers, New Avengers, and the Infinity book. Those are the only ones we're reading. And the only reason we are is because we were already reading Avengers and New Avengers from the beginning anyway. So it was just one extra book that we were picking up to kind of get more of a story. I'm really enjoying the epic scale of it, and it's like going to see the blockbuster movies. I go to Silver Cities and see movies in 3D. I know what I'm going to get when I go to them, and it's fulfilling a need that I have at the time to see something epic and grand and explosions, and fully realizing that sometimes you're not going to get much depth, but I don't care. And then sometimes I want to read about a book called Idiotland, which is kind of just comic strips and gags, or sometimes I want to watch a Criterion movie where there's more thought put into it, and it's just about whatever's suiting a need at one particular time. And because there's focus on one over the other doesn't mean that I think that one is better than the other. They all have their pros and cons. I mean, with some of the small press stuff, like I was saying, there's not much story. Story isn't a big part of it. It's more about images, and that's what draws me to it. Infinity is about being an epic story that's sometimes a little overly complicated and takes us a bit of time to kind of wrap our heads around it, which is a whole other conversation. But I don't know, sometimes you just want that. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see y'all real soon. Okay.